Welcome to the Michigan Southern. Glad that you're here. Today we're going to do a layout tour and take you all around the layout. First, just a little bit about the room. The room is 20 by 20. The railroad is got 3 decks on it. It's a single main line with passing sidings, and the main line is about from one end to the other about 420 feet long. So there's a lot of room in between each of the towns. There are 9 different towns on the layout, and so with all of the switching, everybody can switch on either side of the town without running into the other person on the other side. A couple of unusual things about the layout. Because it's a switching layout, I decided to do a few more things to be able to help me out. One of the things that is right over here on the side of the yard are these fuel cards. The fuel cards, let's see if I can find, there we go. The fuel cards for each of the engine groupings have all of the information that you need for how to acquire it on the NCE throttles that I use. On the back side of it is the buttons that you push on the throttle to do what does the bell, or if it has a Mars light, or mute the sound, or turn the headlights on and off. The other interesting thing about this is that you notice right out here it says ready, and then it says fuel 10 minutes, and that means that once you're done using this engine, you move this to the next area to do either the fuel, which would be coming into the fuel rack, it would take 10 minutes, or to have inspection. And inspection means just that. I take it off the layout, take a look at the wheels, make sure and use my NMRA gauge to check that it's all clean, the wheels. If it needs to be lubricated, if it's making sounds, I'll do that. When it goes all the way down to the bottom, then it's shopped, and that means it can't be moved, and it has to go to my shops area and can't be used for 2 days, which I say is like 2 shifts. And we'll talk a little bit more about that better. The other thing that happens is that, just like in every real railroad, stuff happens. And over here we've got Bruce the Carman cards. And so when a train leaves the yard, they have to be okayed by the carman for your train. And in this case, if we did this one, this says, okay, have a nice trip. However, we could have, sorry, broken air hose, 15 minutes. Or let's see, we get the other one. Sorry, 5th car from the engine, lock brakes, and you have to take it out of the train and have a rip thing. So this makes it's kind of like a Monopoly when you have a chance card, and then you have to, everybody, all the crews have to deal with that before they leave the yard. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a trip, and we'll go from North Station, which is over to the left, and take the Amtrak train all around the layout. Over here on the left are the shops, and you can see there are other engines that have got some of those you have to fix me cards. Some of them that are just have problems themselves, so that's where they got put, as well as other cars that need to be home shopped. This is North Yard on the railroad, or North Tower, Michigan. And if you notice over here, we also have mile markers, and this is mile marker number 1, so that when we have a operating session and you're telling the dispatcher exactly where you are, he'll know on the dispatch board exactly where you're at the time. There's also markers for each of the towns, and it shows you going south and north. The red dot is to show what kind of tax for car forwarding that we use. And I use the tax system, And so on each of the cars there is a tack, like up here, there's a tack that shows you not only the color, which is the town, but also where it gets spotted. So there's like a number that's on each one, or if it's an outgoing car to a different railroad. All right, so let's get started. We'll start to head over to our first stop with our Amtrak unit. Now we're going through Caddy Yard underneath the Southfield Expressway. This used to be the CSX Oak Yard, but we bought it from them in the 1970s. Passing by the fuel pad. You can see there's a number of different engines for different railroads on there, and that's because that's one of the things we do is service foreign power, fueling and repairing. Okay, coming through Livonia, Michigan. Livonia, Michigan is one of our major customers, a large Ford assembly plant for vehicles. And we're coming across Eccles Road. And if you take a look at the rock work that's up on the side, all this was done by Jim Tilley, who carved all this rock. I painted it and did all of the scenic stuff on top of it. Coming up to the Michigan Southern Service Drive. Now we're into the town of Plymouth. Okay, we'll stop here. Coming across Plymouth Diamond, and on the far side against the wall is the boat yard that goes into Detroit, and all of our Canadian traffic comes from the boat yard. Now we're heading south across Greenville and going through Belleville, Michigan. All of the backdrops you see on the layout, I personally painted myself. And now we're coming into Napoleon, Michigan. And Napoleon, Michigan is famous because they have a Campbell's soup can manufacturing plant as well as a grain elevator. Now we're crossing the DT&I, milepost 7.3. Okay, our next station stop is at West Toledo, Ohio, and this is another one of our customers that we have. It's the Ford truck plant, and that's all the way across. You can see on the wall a picture of Toledo, Ohio in the distance over there, but all the way across the back, the whole peninsula is one big switchback layout. I tried to make each of the towns' switching problems just a little bit different. You can see on the top of each of the cars the tacks that are on there to show where they're to be spotted. And on the right beside the buildings and other places is it a tack like this one where you would bring the car. This car had a number 1 tack on it, but that's a spotting position right there, and it's green, and green is for West Toledo. Because my railroad is set in the early 70s, one of the things that we also get to do is kind of take the mail in some of the just-in-time areas. So we do have a pig yard that's right here where we can offload just-in-time materials for the Ford plant, as well as pick up the new intermodal cars that are starting to come along the railroad. And the government pays us very, very well for hauling all of those goods around. Over here is the Maumee Spillway, and this spillway also, if you take a shot of the water, that water was all created using toilet paper. So it's layers of toilet paper and resin as they were built up. And if you drop down a little bit lower, you can be able to see a really nice ripple effects in the water that kind of gives. Yep, we're going to pass one of the through freights. So we got the highballs. We go across the Maumee Spillway. And now we're into the city of Riverbend. This is the city of Riverbend, and it's got its own little switching layout, plus it's part of a branch line that comes off of West Toledo. And now we're coming into Maumee, Ohio. And Maumee, Ohio is we interchange with the DT&I that brings in auto frames for the truck plant, as well as going up into Michigan to take different grain and flour. And again, we're going to pass by a rock train. We'll cross over to the main. And here's the Maumee power plant. Going by Lens and Cut in honor of a good friend of mine, Tom Lenzen. And coming up from the cut are trains from the east and the interchange track. The trains that are coming from the east via Cleveland into Maumee and Toledo, and then some of them go on to Detroit and interchange in Detroit. Lima, Ohio, and as we come down the hill, we'll be crossing the diamond of the N&W, which is waiting on the other track behind us to do its work. And we'll stop at the station. This is the AMP Distribution Center in Lima. So we have a number of different tracks that are down here. It's almost like a little switching thing by itself. Here's the lead to the facility that's up in the front, and behind it we have more traffic that's coming in from the west. Also in the very back track is the DT&I and the Ohio Southern. That was the layout that was done by my friend Jim Hediger. So I still have one of his engines, and so he does interchange track with me coming into Detroit. Up in the front we have an industry, and here we have auto racks that are carrying used cars to Mexico or Canada. So they bring in used cars, ship these, and then we take them out of here. And this is a Michigan Southern industry, but we have to go via the N&W to be able to pick up these cars. Here, as you can see on the map right here, is where the main line is, and this is where the Y is that comes through on the main. Up on the top is the N&W that crosses, so we have to come across on the N&W and switch out the cars that are over here, and then take them back, and then take them back, turn our train around, and be able to get up to the back to the main and head back up to Detroit. The other side of Lima is the Lima West staging yard, and these are all the trains that are coming from the west through St. Louis and then into Lima and then up to Detroit. So we've got the Santa Fe, UP, a connector with Chicago, also the BN, and finally the CNW, which is back in that little slit that's back over there. Like every railroad, it's really hard to uncouple cars, but I use this little device, which is basically a hardware store flashlight with a piece of wire on it. But what it allows you to do is, when you light up, you can light up in the inside and grab the air hose from the KD couplers to be able to light up that area. Even in the back over here, it's really nice. The other cool thing about this is, if we ever have a power failure and we have all of these guys down here running the train and the lights go out at 11 o'clock at night, everybody can just grab one of the uncoupling things and find their way out of here. This is the town of Beaufort, and it has basically agriculture in it, as well as on the other side a coal mine installation. And so what we're going to do is start to run the passenger train through. You can see on the backdrop, when the train comes through, they're baling hay. And the near facilities that we have, we've got a concrete company that's dropping off rock that's going to be crushed and turned into cement. And we also have interchange with the Indiana High Rail. Right now it's got CSX power on it, as well as the Bradford Mine. And this is Hamilton, Ohio, which is right on the Ohio River, and behind it is a very large grain facility, as well as a lumber mill and a gas unloading facility at the top. We get to pick up a lot of car loads that come through there. We also interchange with the Indiana and Ohio, which runs along the north side of the Ohio River from Cincinnati, that goes down to Louisville. So now we're going to cross the Ohio River Bridge, the High Bridge. Trains are not allowed to blow their whistles in Carrollton because we lost a lawsuit that the trains were going too fast, so they could only go 15 miles an hour, and you have to have the bell on going all the way through. This is actually a real town in Kentucky that's combined with another town. The tracks go actually right down through the middle of the town. The only thing that I don't have here is the building fronts that are on the front. Now this paperwork that's in the front is actually, if we go back to the lower level for Caddy Yard, this is the train blocking each of the requirements for each of the different trades. So here we have like DS 101 or DS 203, and this talks about, from the cab on the back, what kind of cars would be built in blocking order that they would have with the engines in the front. So this is 2 units or 5 car maximum, or if you get 3 units you could have a 20 car maximum for each one of these. There's also a ticket for the boatyard, and also for all of the interchange trains that come into Caddy, and exactly which ones you would build and how many cars exactly, so that the yardmaster knows what he's doing when the cars come in. This document is the schedule of trains, and this shows what every train is doing. So for example, the train that we're running right now is the Amtrak number 3, and where the zeros are all of the places where that train is going to stop till it finally gets into Louisville, and then it's arrived on that spot. So they know. So for Detroit, all he's doing is looking here and finding out which trains are coming through. If there's any additional trains that aren't scheduled, those are put on these little tickets right here. So here you can see we're going to have MA1, or the Detroit, Pontiac, and Mackinac, and that's going to be switched. IN47, which is a DNMIR, which is going to be a through train, and IN20, which is Norfolk and Western, it's a turn, and then it's going to be heading south again. And in Spence, Kentucky, we have a pulpwood yard that's over here, and they usually have 4 or 5 loads each section. Whoop, come on, buddy. Okay, that's going to be definitely an edit. Okay, now we're coming into Spence, and what Spence is famous for is the Kentucky Raceway. And over on this side is a rock crusher and Robert's tractor service. Okay, now we're coming into St. Matthias, and we're crossing the Southern Diamond, coming in Louisville. So we stopped in Louisville, Kentucky. In the backdrop, you can see actually downtown Louisville. That's there. To the left, over on this side, you can be able to see the electric furnace with DHI, which stands for Norman Herbert Industries. Norman Herbert is my father. So this is all of the steel industries on this side are with him. They get scrap loads, and they also export chunk slabs of steel that come out to be sent to different other places, especially the automotive industry, that are going to be put into rolling mills and then rolled. On the corner over here, we have the slag that comes out of the cars, and then it's going to be crushed up and put in the cars and then taken down to the cement plant that you saw a little bit earlier. The tank cars that are over here are used for washing the steel, and they have either acid in them or spent acid, corrosive acid, as well as there's a covered hopper that they use to put different kind of additives into the steel to make it harder. Over to the right, we've got the fuel pad, and you can see again different liveries of engines because of the different railroads that come in. The main yard that supports all of this is right here in the front, and in the back is the steel mill. It's the again NHI steel mill. Over here is the Everland blast furnace. Okay, we've got the blower house that's on the power station that's on the back side, and all of it is has the long tracks that are in the front that are feeding in the coke and limestone and iron ore, the three big ingredients that you need to be able to make steel. Okay, now we're coming into Nashville, and we're in the old part of town. Oh, nice. Thanks, Cat. Where the Michigan Southern comes into the yard and into the station. And on the other side over here, you can see the brand new downtown part of Nashville. And of course, the big tall tower on the top, they call that the Batman building because of the ears that are on the top. Okay. And there are two big industries that are in this area. One to the left over there is the Sara Lee plant, and they make those biscuits with the sausage patties in the inside of it. If you think that you've seen that big tower, blue tower in the front, yep, that's a water bottle upside down, repainted, repurposed. Okay, and on this side is the Goodyear tire plant. Okay, where we make a lot of tires for Ford Motor Company, and the tires that are in here are shipped down to the truck plant. We've got graphite into the covered hoppers and liquid rubber that's coming into the other, be offloaded into the other tank. Corner is another just coal facility, Murfreesboro, and this is coal number 2. That's in the very corner. And again, the backdrop in the back. Up here is Shelbyville, Tennessee, and this has the GFC, I should say, grain elevator, and on the back side of it is the CB&Q interchange track, and this interchanges with us with cars that are going down to Memphis, Tennessee. So it runs across the back, and then just like in Carrollton, Kentucky over here, there are 2 tracks that go through the town. One on the front and one on the back. I just sort of lucked out. So the one that goes in the back is the Southern line, and it goes all the way down to the Davis elevators down here. And as you can see, the Davis elevators in this with the freight station, that's all serviced by the Southern Railroad. So the elevators have a track that's open on both sides. The different installation that's on the top above the covered hoppers is a piece of round steel that when the crews get on top of there, they could hook up a safety chain on the top and walk up and down the car without feeling that they might fall off. And this is Colmont, Tennessee. Way in the distance, over on the backdrop, over to the left just a little bit more, is actually downtown Colmont as you go through. And as we go to the right, I've got fueling facilities, and then the actual coal mine in Tipple. Way in the back, on the backdrop, you can see the ranger station. It's on the backdrop back there. Yeah. And then over farther to the left is the engine facility and supply depot for this end of the railroad. They also connect with the Logan Creek Railroad, which is the far track on the back. And the Logan Creek Railroad has a rock crushing facility back there that we get rock from. Down below, this is the dispatcher facility, and this is the board for the entire railroad. And you can see some of the other tools that are down there. We do use walkie-talkies because once we get 3 or 4 trains going with all of the sound on it, it's kind of hard to hear down here, plus everybody gabbing. You know how guys can get. But there is a dispatcher sheet that's down here, and this is laminated, so once you use the markers that are on here, you could just wipe them off and then reuse it again. Here's the list of the different schedules for the train. So you can see there's 4 different shifts, I call them, on here, and each one has between 10 and 12 trains that are shifts. So to be able to go through all of the shifts, you need to go through 48 different trains. That does not include any extra trains that come on. So if you were going to be the operator, the first thing that you would do is come over here to the call board. So here we are, we have DS 301, this local turn, and this one has already been run, but if it's ready, it'll have a tag like this on it, and then you can take your name and put it right over on top of where the train is going to be to show that you've picked up that card. Over here is, so this would be your train orders, and you notice over here is the mile marker number of where you start, Caddy Yard. Over here is what actually that you're going to do. So it says make set-offs or pickups in these industries, and it's got it's going to be a red tack like number 7. When we get down to Plymouth, then we're going to be doing blue tracks on your train, and then you would turn it around, and when we get back to Livonia, it says contact Yardmaster for the tie-up, and then finally you would be going to Detroit Caddy Yard at milepost 1. So this is how you would do your work. If you weren't sure about where you were going, you could turn this over, and this is like a map like the dispatcher has. We would start where the green dot is, basically go to the red dot, and then we're going to go back to the green dot. So we're only going to be working this much of the entire rest of the railroad. Other trains will have marks that may go the whole line to show exactly where you're headed. So this is how we do that. If we have an extra, let's see if I can find one here. Here we go. Well, just look at there. Here's the train that we had. Here's the Amtrak, the River Bell, and so notice we started in Detroit and we made it all the way to Nashville. And on here it says contact dispatcher for release. So, and it's a 5-minute stop, and this is a 5-minute in real time. So this person would know exactly what to do, and this also helps the dispatcher to know that you're just not cruising all the way through, but you're actually making the stops, and where the stops are at M5, M8, 12.5, 14. These were all the places that we stopped while we were filming. And again, you can see here's the green light. It goes, or green mark, all the way through, and we're going to stop at Nashville. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that pretty much covers everything. The only other thing that I have, and that is that when we have an operating session, I have everybody read a bulletin, and the bulletin, when it goes through, talks about any other new and different things that would be happening on the railroad, so you could figure that out. Also, we have a timetable, and this is the rule book that you saw at the very beginning, that also has for some operating rules, some general instructions about how that you should work, and more importantly for a lot of the operators, this is Detroit Caddy Yard, and it's got all of the numbers on it where you would do switching. So if you're doing one of the local turns that's happening here, you would be able to know exactly what track that you're supposed to take the car and the tack on here. And also the industries are labeled on the bottom that go along with your card. So when you're trying to figure out which ones that you're supposed to be switching, they'd be on the bottom, and you could find them here and then find out where you're supposed to be. The way that I printed this out is if we're leaving from Caddy Yard, the next town that we would go to would be Plymouth, and then the next town would be West Toledo. So as you're turning the pages, you're actually going ahead in order as your train is heading south. And remember, we talked about having some of the cars that were down here that were the auto racks, and how you got into this to be able to switch that out. Well, here's your map so that you can figure out exactly where you're going and how you would do that. Here's the Ohio River Bridge that we said that we went over. Spence with the different industries that are in blue. Okay, Louisville Yard, Nashville Yard, and then finally Murfreesboro, Shelbyville, and Colmont. Okay, there you go. And of course, federal law prohibits the use of profane and obscene language on all railroad communication. So, yeah, so we don't do any of that kind of stuff. Okay, very good. We've got our officers that are here. All right, very good. Well, we hope you enjoyed our tour with the Michigan Southern, and maybe sometime you'll be able to operate. This layout was built for operation, and if this seems like, wow, there's a lot of stuff that's here, I purposely did it that way so I wouldn't be bored, and it wouldn't be like a Christmas tree layout where you're kind of going to the same place like over and over again. There's a lot of towns that are here, and a lot of them can be switched and done in different ways, so I just let the guys come down here and let them figure it out. And so most of the time they have a good time. If they get messed up or can't figure it out, then I'll try to help them out. So I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great time.
All right.
One of the things I think is really important, and this was brought about by my good friend Bill Neal before he passed away this last summer and then early in last fall, was that light is a really, really important thing. Let me show you what the layout looked like before we put in the lighting. So if you can see in the corner back in there, you can see how dark it was. And it was that way for almost 20 years. 20 years. All that was up was just the fluorescent lighting on the front. But Bill said, I have this new LED lighting. It's theatrical lighting. And this would be really easy for you to put it on your railroad dorm. So what we did was we took these piece of aluminum, and the LED lights come in little strips. So we put it on the bottom, and inside the furnace room is actually where it's plugged in. But watch what the difference is when you turn on the light. It's like night and day. It makes it so much more fun. You can see all the cars. I spent a lot of time weathering the cars. Well, you couldn't see any of that when it was so dark. So check out your lighting. You can see up here the lighting that's on the front of it. It doesn't show up very much on the ceiling at all because all the lighting is directed down to where the layout actually is. So I think that's an important thing for you to take a look at on your layout.
Makes a tremendous difference.
Okay. Okay.